Oh, let me see. Okay. Aloha. Hopefully you can hear me. And I'm hoping that the picture is okay. I'm just getting used to this lighting, which I'm not doing very good at, but I'm trying. So I am GeralynStJoseph. I am in the Philadelphia area currently, and I have a couple of things that we want to talk about today. I look terrible. I look like I'm sick. I really don't feel as bad as I look. I'm testing out this camera, I'm testing out new lighting, I'm trying to see, like, what is gonna work for me because the last time I filmed, the lighting was really bad, but for some reason, when I was setting up this particular live stream, what happened was there was a big thing, it was like, "This is your preview," and then there was a big thing in front of you, so you couldn't actually see your preview until you went live, so you get what you get. Alrighty. So today, what I would like to do besides test my stream is I want to introduce everyone to my Patreon. On my Patreon, there are several different levels. The first level, the lowest level, is my mystery, mystics, and metaphysics. I've had that group for several years now, and I am moving it off of meetup.com and onto Patreon. Why, you say? Why would you move off Meetup? I love Meetup. Don't get me wrong. It's been a great place to host things. It had a lot of wonderful features, but over time, as they've upgraded, they've made it more and more cumbersome to work with, and they've almost doubled the cost. And it's a free platform most of the time when you go to it. So the return on investment really is not incredibly high. So it just didn't make sense for me to stay there. I've had my Patreon for several years also. I haven't done much with it, but I'm going to start doing everything through Patreon. This is on YouTube, which I do have a YouTube channel, and please subscribe. This live stream is for subscribers only, so you would need to be a subscriber in order to put anything here. So, what are we doing? I said that this was a spirit stream. And what I would like to do is go through some of my, oh, totally wrong. Some of my decks that I have not used previously. This one, this beautiful, beautiful deck was made by a gentleman who I believe is in the Pennsylvania area. It's very unique. And a friend of mine gifted it to me. I did purchase it when it first came out. I've never used it. I think I gave it to my partner at the time, and I'm gonna try that one out since I've never used it. This is called the Dreamweaver's Oracle. I love this oracle, and it has such beautiful artistry in it, and just really unique um, messages too. So what I'm going to do today is use these two beautiful decks and do a little mini reading. So we're going to be doing a reading that is about what is happening around us right now. It's not necessarily a specific reading for a person, so it's not like you're calling in and getting a free reading kind of thing. It is more to give us an idea of where the energy is going and what we need to do right now. So, I say so a lot. I notice that. Yes. Okay. Generally, when I do readings, what I like to do to begin with is a general reading, and I ask Spirit, what is it that we most need to know right now? And then I'll shuffle the deck. If I'm using a deck, I'll handle my gemstones. If I'm doing gemstones, I will hold on to someone's signature if it's about somebody's signature. There are so many different ways to pick up on energy and to do a reading. It's almost endless. because everything has its own energetic signature, and we are in a world that is composed of energy. Everything is moving all the time. Everything is changing all the time. When we recognize that, things are a lot easier. Instead of trying to swim against the current, we know we just need to float on it, figure out what direction we want to go, help to utilize that energy to move forward. Oh, very pretty. Let me shut off my phone before it starts ringing. For so many people, what ends up happening is that we get into a place where we're going into overwhelm. And oftentimes we get to that place before we even begin to start looking for ways out or answers. Like things just pile on and pile on and pile on, and we're just like keeping our nose to the grindstone. And doing that does not work in the long term. It'll get you through short bursts of things, but it is not a good way to move forward. The best way to move forward is to take stock of your surroundings. It's like when you're driving a car, you have to always be aware of what is going on around you outside of the car. What is coming towards you? What is the weather? What is the road like? Do I have to turn? Are there people around? Do I see a ball bouncing into the street? All these things you need to process as you're moving forward. If you're just focused on that line in front of you and you're just looking at the road in front of you, you're very quickly going to lose control of that car and probably get into an accident. You have to look further down the road. And that's what going to um, a reader or a coach or even just talking to friends and being aware, that all that helps you in the long run. So the first card is called the star. It is number 17, and you could see how pretty that is. I don't know if that will become there we go. There we go. So, the star, as you could see now, the star in this deck is a little bit different than in the regular Rider-Waite, and this is a traditional tarot deck. The other deck I'm gonna be using is not. As a traditional tarot, the star is one of the major arcana, and it talks about being able to process things and um, an acknowledgement that things are both physical and non-physical. So you have emotion, you have thought, you have the physical body, and the way it's portrayed in a lot of these cards is the star, the woman who encapsulates the star. She number one is almost always without clothing. And she's without clothing to show two things. One is vulnerability. When you are disrobed, you're very vulnerable to the elements and anything that's coming at you. Also, though, when you don't have clothes covering up every blemish that you are also very authentic. So the nakedness also shows authenticity because you're not hiding anything. There, there's nowhere to hide things if you're not wearing a big coat or something like that. So the star is about being authentic and being true to yourself and being authentic in the world and recognizing that there are different sides to the world. There's the physical and the non-physical, and that one does impact the other. When we look at the star, depending on how you read it or how you feel when you first saw it, I'm going to put it up again. I want you to look at it, close your eyes, and just write down the first couple of things that come into your head when you see this picture. And I'm sorry, it's blurry, and then it takes time to. There we go. Did it go? Ah. Okay, so you could see she's there. You see the stars around her. And it looks like there are 7 stars, and then 1 is behind the tree, which makes the 8th star. The number 8 is a number of learning. It's a number of being in the flow. It's about infinity. So the 8 on its side, of course, is the infinity symbol. And it's about being in the flow and coming into the flow and recognizing the flow. So if we look at those stars, those are 8 pointed stars, right? So you have the north and south, east and west, and then you have the quarter quadrants. So there are 8 pointed stars, and there are 8 stars in the star. And stars often are indicative of a spark of creation or as something that guides you. It could be something that you suddenly like having an epiphany when you see the star. And as I said, the number is 17, and 17 is a 1 and a 7, and a 1 and a 7 makes an 8. And thus the 8's depicted in the card. 17 is also the self at peace. So 7 is a number of harmony. It's when things can balance out. And when you are at peace, it's easier for you to be able to take in information and learn things and see the long view. So the star is telling you that you need to acknowledge that the subconscious affects the conscious and vice versa. What are you feeding yourself? And 2, that you need to be very authentic and very aware of what is happening in order to maintain the flow. So, learning and being open to learning is very important right now. It helps us to move forward. It helps us to reach out and really embrace what is to come. And again, that's the star. So, the name of this deck is called Tarot Illuminati. And Illuminati is not just like a secret society that everybody's afraid of that controls the world. It is Illuminate means to illuminate or to be illuminated, to come into enlightenment. That's what the core meaning is of the word, and that's what he is expressing. How do you know what the artist is expressing? Well, a couple things. One is the gentleman who created this. It was initially sold at a local shop where they really talked about it, and they had the whole history of it. Plus, he has it in his book, what he means by Illuminati. He knows that it's a trigger word for some people, but he felt called to use it because it's about opening up your perception and really seeing the world as it is. Okay, that's a very pretty one too. So this is the Ace of Pentacles. So an ace is a 1, generally, it's about the self, it's new beginnings, it's, being able to open up and take a step in the right direction. So the Ace of Pentacles is talking about a new way of looking at money or a new way of dealing with money. Pairing that with the star, basically what that's telling me is right now is a really good time for us to look at how we have viewed money and how we've used it up until this point and figure out like how do we get into the flow and stay there with our cash flow, with our money flow, with our money honey, as we like to say. Pentacles is about earth, it's about the physical. And pentacles is sometimes called coins. Again, we're talking about prosperity, we're talking about abundance. But because it's the ace, we're talking about stepping onto that road, stepping out and doing something new, really taking account of what we've done up until this point, what works, what doesn't work, and to be very objective about it and not allow our emotions to stop us from moving forward in the right way. Okay. And I'll do one more with this deck, and then I'm going to move on to the next. I love doing these types of readings because whenever it is that you come upon it, that's when you need it. Really doesn't have anything to do with what's the astrology of today and what's happening right in this moment. If you find this 5 years from the day that I did the live stream, you will still find something in it that you can take with you and work with. Oh, now I have to tell you, I've been shuffling these cards and I shuffled them previously, so they're not in order. And yet, we got another ace. This is the Ace of Wands. Wands are fire. Wands are about inspiration. They're about moving forward, forward movement. It's about having that fire in your belly set off again and taking that fire in your belly and making something of it, doing something with it. So the Ace of Wands is a very important card strategically. So not only did you get the Ace of Pentacles, but you got the Ace of Wands. So Spirit is saying, you really need to hone in on your own inspiration, your own enthusiasm. And when you confront life or face life full of enthusiasm, it's much easier to be successful. And we need to define success. Success is not just about having the perfect job or looking the perfect way or having this or that. Success is about having inner peace and being authentic. So some people may be out there that you look at and be like, that person's really successful, but they may hate where they are in life. They may not enjoy their riches. They may, that's not really who they are. And when that happens, it really detracts from their forward movement and their upward motion. So we got the Star, Ace of Pentacles, Ace of Wands. The Star is telling us to look around, see what's in your environment, try to figure out what is affecting you from the past, what is affecting you emotionally, what is affecting you from your subconscious, and then look to see which direction you're supposed to go in. You need to get rid of those things that no longer serve you. Ace of Pentacles is telling you there's prosperity out there. Now is the time to start something. And I would say the way this builds up is like in the next week or so, you're looking at things, taking stock of things, you're figuring things out. Then after that initial 10 days, you take the next 10 days, and that's when you're creating whatever it is you're going to create, and you're starting to move forward and you're laying the groundwork and you're moving forward. And then the next 10 days is when things really start to open up and happen for you. So you start to really look around and you're seeing everything around you. Unlike in the past when you may have looked at things but not really seen much. So it's acknowledging what and who is around you, acknowledging the energy that's around you. The one thing I would like to let people know right now, too, is that people who aren't used to being real intuitive are going to find themselves feeling things, seeing things, and doing things that they're not used to. Now is always the perfect time to start really tapping into your intuitive self and your intuitive nature because it can see much further than you can. I mean, logic only sees in front of your face and only judges from the past. It can't extrapolate into the future something new and different. It's your inspiration that does that. And looking at things using your intuition, you can see deeper into them and get a better idea of what is going to help you and what is not. So, knowing those two things is very helpful. Recognizing what's around you, being authentic, asking if there were no consequences. Like if I didn't have to get up tomorrow morning and make sure that this bill was paid, who would I be? How would I act? What would I be doing right now? If I was just me, who am I at my core? And looking at that and acknowledging that and seeing if you need to tweak some things or if maybe you haven't been this person in a long time. It's about being authentic. And as we move forward, it's going to become more and more and more about being authentic and acknowledging who you are and acknowledging those feelings in the pit of your stomach and that uh, intuition and the things that need to be said or expressed. So be ready for it. It's coming. Okay, so The Dreamweaver's Oracle by Colette Baron Reid. I love her stuff. She has such beautiful things. I probably would say I like her stuff even more than I enjoyed Doreen Virtue because although Doreen Virtue stuff was very beautiful, it also, after a while, it just, I don't know, became redundant. Whereas Colette Baron Reid, I have a couple of her decks and a couple things from her, and each one is completely different, which is more my style. I like to be completely different. Okay. All right, Spirit. What do we most need to know? Interesting. So this says what the sunbeams have to show. I mean, look at that. That's amazing. There's all kinds of figures in there. It's very interesting looking. It looks like, I don't know. It's amazing. So when we look at that, I want you to look at that and close your eyes and now write down whatever the first thing is that comes into your head because that is what your intuition is trying to tell you. Whatever that is. And this is the number 18 and 1 and 8. Now we just talked about 8 being infinity and being in the flow and about learning and education. And then we'll talk number 1 is about you being who you are. But 1 plus 8 is a 9 and 9 is like completion of a cycle. So what the sunbeams have to show reminds me of the star because it's about things being illuminated, all of a sudden seeing things for the first time, coming to an epiphany, coming to a realization, looking at things very objectively to see what it means. What does this mean to you? It's about things coming out of the darkness and not being able to be hidden anymore. So anybody who really watches the news. This is not a sponsor, but I have Ground News, who I enjoy very much because they show you what the bias is, and they'll give you like 17 different newspaper articles about the same thing and show you where the biases are. And I enjoy that because our nation, at least here in America, and I know a lot of places around the world, have become so polarized. And the thing is, if you're just poo-pooing the other person and pretending like whatever they say doesn't matter and doesn't hold any weight because they're saying it, or because they don't have the same worldview as you do, completely cuts you off to growth. You cannot grow. You cannot have real connections, because if you're like that with people, then there will be no one around you who is authentic. What people will do is just parrot whatever you're saying just to not get in a fight with you. And is that really the way you want things to be? Like, I know growing up, we used to love to debate and talk about things and really look into things. And I mean, I'm old. We didn't really have the internet and all that to really look things up like we do now. But even like once Google became a thing, and we started to look up things, and there was this huge database of information. It was amazing. People were learning. We were looking things up. We were finding things. And at that point, Google was a good third party. But as time progressed, people grew into their niches, and instead of being open and opening up and expanding our knowledge, it decreased it. Because what started happening was then we get presented with whatever is going to reinforce what we already believe. There's really nothing to pull us out of it, because in the algorithm for advertisers, they don't want you angry at something or finding out something new, because then you might associate it with their product, and then their product's not going to sell. So you're going to see what you expect to see. Your beliefs are only going to be upheld. So you have to find other ways to really suss things out. And with stuff like ground news, you can do that. And there's been a lot of talk in the past year or so about all these different things that are coming to light that people called, they were poo-pooing a couple of years ago. And then it all came out that all the stuff they were poo-pooing is true, or a lot of it is. And that's not catching on, because people will hold on to the first thing that they see or hear. It doesn't matter whether it's true or not. It doesn't matter how many times that you debunk something or something is proven to be false, people will still believe it. So things like, different things that caused riots 10 years ago, that were proven to be completely untrue. We still have people reacting and pretending like that actually happened and was a valid thing. And it didn't. And it was proven over and over and over again, but people don't want to listen, and that's why journalists rush to be the first, because whoever's the first, whoever has their foot in the door first, they're the ones who get the credit for it, and they're the ones that people believe, unfortunately. And we need to be more aware of our own biases and how we do that. Okay. This is so cute. So this is All the Magic Everywhere, and it's number 14. I don't know if you can. There you go. All the Magic Everywhere. Look at that. That's hilarious. I love that picture. Look, he's got all kinds of magical stuff coming out of his trunk, or maybe it's just above him. He's walking on wings. Is he flying? Is that the ocean beneath him? Is he in the stars? Like, what's happening here? And the answer is everything is happening here. So we have a depiction of the essence of magic, that it is something that quickly makes you smile. I mean, when you looked at that picture, when that first popped up, if you didn't laugh, I got to wonder about you, because that is cute and it's funny. And once you look at that and look at all the different symbolism in the card, you can see that it means much more than what it says. All the magic everywhere. There's magic everywhere. It's around you all the time. There's always energy around us. And that energy can be put to good use. It could be stationary. It could be put to bad use. It's up to us to utilize it and also to interpret it. You can see the world through a very dark lens. and decide there's no such thing as magic and nothing will ever change and it will be true. Or you can see the world as magical and mysterious and mystical and see all life as being amazing and worthy and brilliant. And that will be true. So, whatever you choose to put out there, whatever you choose to think, and whatever perception, whatever lens you choose to look through, for you, that will be true. If you're only looking for the negative in everything, then that's all you're ever going to find are negative things. And I'm not saying that if you only look for the positive, that only positive things happen. However, you could take a negative and make it into a positive. I have a million stories about that, about how people were in life-changing situations and circumstances where things seemed so low and they were so bad. And it turned out to be one of the best things that ever happened to them as they moved through it, as they got past it, because it brought them through the dark night of the soul. It made them really look at their lives and consider, what am I doing? Am I being authentic? What is it that I really want? What is it that I really need? And then shift their lives in such a way that their whole life has changed. If they had chosen to stay in the darkness and to sit in a corner and pout because their life was not going the way they wanted it to, they would have never experienced the magic. All the magic everywhere. It's talking about being able to see and perceive the goodness, the light, the brilliance, the magic that is all around you. And it's number 14. 4 is the number of family, and it's the number of stability. It's the number of really having a good foundation. And again, 1 is the self. So it's about you creating your foundation, you having a good foundation, you either creating your family or being an asset to your family, or however you want to look at that. And then 1 plus 4 is a 5, and 5 is the human condition. 5 is about being true to yourself, being in your physical body, um, holding on to your different senses, and allowing yourself to move forward, utilizing all that. Okay. So there is one more card I'm going to pull. And hello to everyone who's watching on the different platforms right now. Welcome. Okay, so, oh, this is beautiful. Okay, so we have painting joy across the sky. Look at that. Look at the colors in that. These are very psychedelic, I know, but it is one of my favorite decks. Painting joy across the 5. Another 5, because it's a 2 and a 3. And 2 is the emotional body, and 3 is the etheric body. 3 is like your divinity. It's your place in the world or in the cosmos, however you want to look at it. Painting joy across the sky. So, in order to truly embrace who we are, sometimes we need to really put it out there. Sometimes we need to really express ourselves in our fullness, in our totality. That does not mean being rude to anybody or stepping on anybody else's, infringing on anyone else. But it does mean not hiding your light, because we're not supposed to hide our light. When we're painting joy across the sky, we are just expanding and bringing happiness and joy with us where we go, or we're looking up to try and find it. So as you move forward and as you enjoy spreading your light in the world, and as you get more used to turning it up, go with blessings. Keep love in your heart. Move forward in confidence, with faith, and know that you are loved. This is Geralyn St. Joseph signing off from today's live stream. If you have questions that you would like me to cover, or if there are certain decks you want me to use, I can let you know at whatever point. I have all these different decks to use, or using crystals or anything like that. Let me know what you're interested in, and we will talk about it. Thank you so much for your time, and I will catch you all later. Mahalo.